welcome to Update DPW, a seasonal look at your Department of Public Works. Joining me today to talk about the fall is, I think, John Sullivan, though I'm not totally certain. John? Yes? No?
Actually, I'm John's alter ego, and you can call me Zorro.
I like the fact that you have the tag.
I'm returning it.
Oh, I see.
As soon as this show is over.
It's kind of mini Pearlish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mini Pearlish.
If folks will remember, I believe, some folks, that Minnie Pearl would wear hats with the tags still on them.
And it's trending now.
It is. Okay. Well,
people with the baseball hats, they leave all the tags on.
Yeah, my son does. That's why, huh?
Yeah. He's trending.
Well, you're trending.
Absolutely. It's almost Halloween. We're only 2 months away, but this is the fall update.
Right. So let's talk about fall. We should mention that I'll give you a chance to take off your disguise. The fall newsletter was just put together. Folks will be receiving this in the mail. They could go to the City of Quincy website and DPW page and access this as well, correct?
Yeah, not today, but actually it's on the presses, and this I made with the color copier, so it's not available yet.
We are recording this program on the 6th of September, so we are a little earlier than normal, but I think it's a good idea to give out some of these dates that are upcoming so folks can be prepared for, well, I'm thinking of household hazardous waste, and we will get to that in just a moment. I'm thinking of curbside collection. We'll get to that as well. So it's better to be early than to be late.
Especially for your own wake.
All right, so top on the headlining story is contamination down 2%.
That's right.
So we are talking, of course, about recycling.
Yes. First, I want to give a tip of the hat to the art department in City Hall. They do a wonderful job.
So contamination down 2%. Talk about this.
Okay, so it's down 2%. It was 17%. That means 17% of all our recycling was no good. So our first audit ever was last year, and 17%, according to their audit, was contaminated, meaning it was either covered with food, or it was in plastic bags, or it was plastic bags, or it was hoses, chains, and ropes, or other things that just aren't recyclable.
And what happens in the system when it comes upon something that's not recyclable?
Well, I noticed that a lot of people just driving around will use plastic bags from the supermarket for their recycling. They may leave it in the kitchen, throw everything in, and when it's full, they tie it up and they put it in the recycling bin. That gets pulled out and thrown in the trash down at the facility, and when they do an audit, it counts as we get fined for it. So last year we paid $78,000. We, meaning taxpayers, through the City of Quincy. So that 2% is going to save us $17,000 for this year. If we can get it down to 10%, that's acceptable. 10%. And so we only have to go another 5%. And
so what people are doing, they're putting recyclable things in non-recyclable things?
Yes, and it's not getting recyclable. Maybe in the past at some point they used to rip them open, but they just don't do that anymore. Plastic bags, if they don't remove them, get wrapped around the gears and stuff in those slider. It all goes up a what do you call those? Conveyor belts, and things like that aren't recyclable, like plastic bags, and for some reason people like to try to recycle gardening hoses because they're plastic or rubber.
Well, you should. That's good that you mentioned that, because go back to the days when people were checking the number on their recyclable item. That's important.
Well, you still have to check the numbers.
Right, because just because something is plastic doesn't mean that it's recyclable.
And it's kind of easy to remember. Only numbers 1, 2, and 5 are recyclable now.
1, 2, and 5.
on plastic. A lot of the trouble with contamination, however, is the fact that people hope these things are recycling, and it's called wishful recycling. That's what the industry came up for. People wish this was recycling, and they'll throw it in there. Now, wishful recycling is costing the city of Quincy almost $80,000 a year. But like I said, if we can get down to just 10%, then it won't cost us anything. We'll probably lower it by then, but it's worth shooting for.
And just talk briefly why the change. Why suddenly is recycling under the microscope?
Sure. The big picture is for years and years, for the last 50 years, America has kept the good stuff in the United States, and the rest was shipped out. And for the last 50 years, that has been okay. But now those countries that were taking our recycling have their own infrastructure, and they don't want our trash-riddled recycling. So, like China, for instance, came up with a name for it called China Sword. I guess they're very famous for China swords. So isn't Wilkinson. However, all of a sudden they said, okay, that's it. They're only taking 1% contamination. And so when that happened, you've got 20 some odd recycling facilities in Massachusetts, and they all had their own list. Well, the DEP recently got them all together in the same room at the same time, just like you never see me. No, never mind. And they all came up with a unified code of a standardized code of guidelines of what is and what is not recyclable. And that you'll find on page 2 of my newsletter, the code, the standard, and if you follow this, there's no reason why we can't reduce our contamination to below 10%.
Let's go through a couple of those items.
Yep.
Food and beverage cans, empty
Recyclable.
and rinse.
Mm-hmm.
It is recyclable, but again, please empty and rinse them out. Plastic, bottles, jars, jugs.
All plastic bottles and
tubs.
jars, whatever, they're the right numbers. If they're containing liquid, they're the right numbers.
Empty and replace cap.
Yes. Now the reason they want you to put the cap back on is because they use a ocular system that identifies the shape of a bottle. And if you don't put the cap on it, it gets crushed, and it could end up somewhere else in the system. But if you put the cap on, the air stays in it, it maintains its shape, and the computer sees it through its eye, and it will send it this way or that way or whatever. That's why they like to have the caps on the bottles.
So that was plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Now we will look at glass, bottles, and jars. Again, empty and rinse.
You know, after this last China Sword, but people decided, you know, it costs less to make glass from sand. It costs more to recycle glass because they have to crush it down, they have to separate it by color, crush it down into a sand again. So when China Sword, you know, brought the curtain down on a lot of things, people had to rethink if this was worth it. And there are warehouses filled with glass bottles. Thank God, you know, the DEP was able to, but there are towns in the United States that have stopped single stream and are going dual stream, separating the paper. You make more money from paper and plastic. And there are some towns that are not taking glass because it's two of the biggest glass recyclers in Maine closed their doors.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just cheaper. Nobody wants it anymore. But we're still doing it. So please recycle as much as you can, glass, plastic, metal. And of course the big money maker is paper and cardboard.
But not shredded paper.
I don't think the recycling facilities ever wanted shredded paper because they have to open it.
It's
and
often,
then it goes everywhere,
well,
even if it stays on.
Often it's in a bag that's not
plastic
recyclable.
bag. They wanted it in a clear plastic bag so they could see it and they could lift it up and they remove it. They don't make any money out of it. I mean, a train load of it probably weighs 50 pounds. So they don't want recycled, I mean, they don't want shredded paper anymore. But we take it twice a year at the hazardous waste drop-off, which is coming up in October. And if you're bringing only shredded paper, don't wait in that line. Cut. I'm not sure how you could do it. You could come in between the DPW and the Naval Reserve. Come in that way if you don't have any hazardous waste on Haz Day.
Let's actually get that up on screen, and we can talk about that. Household hazardous waste drop-off day.
The filthy five for recycling: plastic bags, shredded paper, tanglers, meaning hoses, cords, styrofoam containers, and dirty diapers. I don't have to worry about that one, but
I do want to go back to
okay.
recycling, but
Okay.
we mentioned, and on screen is the fall drop-off day.
Okay.
Let's talk about that, and you had mentioned it is coming up.
It's coming up. It's October 5th. It's usually, as much as I can do that, is the first Saturday in October. It's from 8 a.m. to 12. It seems that those times work better for people. They still line up at 7. Sometimes, I think the worst has ever been was an hour wait, but it usually moves pretty good. And so what they want you to do is never mix chemicals. Put the cap on nice and tight. Do not change the containers that they're in. Don't try to combine them to save, because you never know what you're mixing together. And don't take any kids with you in the car. Don't smoke in the car. And get in line. And this is a free service provided by the city of Quincy. You must have a driver's license with the Quincy address on it. And if you do not, give us a call and we'll look up the fact, bring something before then, a utility bill, and we'll take care of it. We'll get you a pass.
So again, this happens twice a year. This is the fall. There will be one in the spring as well. But folks, you don't have to hold on to your materials for too much longer. October 5th is nearly here. Let's go back to recycling, because we just breezed through the list of things that you cannot recycle. Go over that once again.
The filthy five, as they say. I didn't write that. I think it sounds silly, but plastic bags, that's number one. And you know what they don't have here? Food. Food will ruin paper, so it can't be sold. Water will ruin paper, so it can't be sold. So my filthy five: plastic bags, shredded paper, tanglers, styrofoam, and food and liquid.
Okay.
And diapers too, for crying out loud.
And tanglers.
Tanglers. Tanglers are anything that gets tangled up in the gears.
So some kind of
Hoses, rope,
okay. What about
chains? I mean, if you chains are recyclable, they're metal, but not curbside. If you have some chains you want to get rid of, bring them down to the DPW yard, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. And on Saturdays through December 7th, from 7:30 to 2:30. And you must have a driver's license with the Quincy address to recycle at the yard.
If folks have any questions about what is and what is not recyclable, and they've received this newsletter, they've watched this program, and they're still confused, they can give you a call.
They can give me a call, but if you have a computer, you can go to recyclesmart.org. And then you'll just click on the Recyclepedia, put in your item, and they'll tell you, you'll get specifics. Is it this size, this color? Does it have this? And especially like batteries. And it'll tell you whether or not, no matter where you live in Massachusetts, whether or not it's recyclable. So that's recyclesmart.org.
Batteries.
Batteries.
And, what about batteries? Should they be brought down to household hazardous waste drop-off day? Can they be brought to the yard?
They can be brought to the yard. However, your household batteries, A, AA, AAA, C, D, can go in the trash.
Okay.
They've taken out all the bad stuff for the last 10 years. Nothing's going to seep into the aquifer, and in Quincy, it gets burned. So all our trash gets burned to make electricity for other people. However, anything that's rechargeable, without getting too technical, lithium ion, NiCad, NIMH, whatever that is, NIZN, and SSLAPB.
Okay.
Button batteries, lithium batteries, bring them to the DPW, and they will be disposed of in a responsible manner through consumer recycling services.
Okay. I thought I was going to lose you there in all the descriptions of what
Oh, I'm
batteries
lost.
are in fact
Don't worry about it.
recyclable, but have to be brought to the yard. Correct?
Correct.
Pizza boxes. Now, one would think, and in the past, yes, it is cardboard, but it was stained with oil, so therefore it wasn't recyclable, but now it is.
I should have brought my prize wheel. Yeah, pizza boxes. Once upon a time, they were not recyclable if they had grease and oil. Today they are. It's like the Twilight Zone, isn't it? Do. So pizza boxes, even with grease and oil in them, are recyclable. However, not with pizza in them. Please take the pizza out.
That's not a problem at my house.
Yeah, right.
Everyone loves pizza, so I don't think...
Even
any-
day old, right?
yeah, cold,
If
too.
you nuke it, though, you got to eat it before it turns into real cardboard.
Right. All right, with the fall comes street sweeping. There will be a schedule that I believe begins the week of October 28th.
That's right. And please remove your cars. There'll be electronic signs when we're in your neighborhood. And we'll be doing it by ward. Yes. So like the first week is Ward 1 and 2, then 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and then we go back and do it again. So it'll be 6 week long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it starts October 28th, and it ends December 2nd.
Could you go over those dates for those
You can.
specific wards? Well, I certainly can. But
All right.
I brought you in as a
No,
guest.
that's okay. I have to practice reading aloud. Wards 1 and 2 are the week of October 28th. Wards 3 and 4 are the week of November 4th. Wards 5 and 6 are the week of November 12th. And then we go back to Wards 1 and 2 for the week of November 18th. Wards 3 and 4 the week of the 25th. And Wards 5 and 6 the week of December 2nd.
A stellar performance.
Thank you. I hope this is being recorded, like you said, so that I won't
It
have to
is.
voice over the next commercial.
Oh, no, you might.
But I have to do it in the southern drawl.
Yeah, you'll
A
have to.
cowboy.
You'll have to play that up.
How
a bit.
about them cowboy?
You don't mind coming back
I love it here.
Thank
you feed me sometimes, too.
sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yard waste schedule.
Yard waste. So, it's still bi-weekly, and it will be bi-weekly all the way through October. And then it's every week on your regular trash day for the month of November, right through to December 6th.
And let's go over what is considered yard waste.
Anything you find in your yard. No, just
That could be-
leaves,
that could be
grass.
dangerous.
Yes, it could be. Yeah, because it'll ruin the machine. So it's leaves and grass, and mostly in the fall, it's leaves, twigs, branches. For curbside, you can only put out branches that are less than 4 feet long and 2.5 inches wide. If they're bigger than that, you can bring them down to the DPW yard, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3. You can use barrels, paper bags, and cardboard boxes. With cardboard boxes, you should mark it with the big fat YW. Don't waste the stickers. If you use barrel, use the orange stickers. If you use it for something else, just turn the orange sticker around. Oh, and please don't, and be sure there's nothing in there that's not leaves, grass, twigs, and leaves. Like, landscapers love to put their coffee cups in there. Inconsequential, but it doesn't do well for the composting that we do with it. Especially don't put any plastic pots in there. What else don't put in there? Do not place flower pots or other debris such as, oh, it doesn't say. But that damages the material if there's any metal in there or plastic. Oh, and then, so Saturday, December 7th, that's the last Saturday we're going to be open. And then the rear yard. The rear yard will close on Saturdays. December 7th is the last. And then, of course, we have the Christmas trees, which we'll do in the winter update. It's usually the following week. From Christmas is on the 25th, so whatever week that is, the following week we collect Christmas trees out in front of your house for 2 weeks.
We are working on a public service announcement that folks
Oh,
will,
that's right.
Yeah, they'll get
Should we do a spoiler alert?
they'll get an entertaining take on recycling Christmas trees. I do want to talk about collection of household appliances, TVs, computer monitors.
Okay. So the city of Quincy collects those items curbside, appliances, TVs, monitors. You do have to call at least one full business day. So if your pickup is Monday, please call on Friday before 4 p.m. Actually, you're better off if you call by noon, because if I don't pick it up at 4 p.m., it might get picked up.
And that's a call to Capital Waste?
Yes, 617-376-7556. And we take all appliances, hot water heaters or cold water heaters.
I think with refrigerators,
We'll
the
even take...
door
oh,
needs to
wait a
be
minute. We don't
the
take...
door needs to be off of refrigerators, correct?
Probably,
Okay.
yeah.
What were you going to say?
We don't take snow blowers anymore, but we do take lawnmowers curbside.
Okay.
But the gas tank has to be removed.
And again,
And you can take all of that stuff to the DPW yard if you'd like to.
so curbside plus the advantage is if you can get it down to the yard, you can leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. As we close, I hate to bring this up because I know we will touch base before the winter, but just in case we get a little bit of snow in the fall, let's go over the winter parking rules.
Well, they're all right here on the bottom of the page. And this year, when there's a snow emergency, you can't park on, what do they call them? Emergency arteries, and they're all posted. Emergency arteries are the main streets. However, if it's not an emergency artery this year, you can park on the odd side.
And it is odd because the winter season starts in an odd year, correct?
Yeah, very odd year.
2019.
Yep. Twilight Zone.
Okay, so there's that parking information. There are a couple of numbers associated with
Parking?
parking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, with parking or with snow, but you have some other information you'd like to share.
Oh, yes. So it's been a very busy summer, and I just wanted to let my audience know that their money is being well spent, their tax money. This summer, we did the DPW and our engineers and other people. We crack sealed 13 and a half miles of streets. You know what crack sealing is? You do?
I do.
Oh, you're supposed to say no. That's when you seal cracks.
I don't.
Okay, it's when you seal cracks. But it's a very inexpensive way to prolong the life before it needs what they call full depth restoration, where they tear it all up and they leave those grooves in, you know, when you're driving down the highway about 80 and you hit those grooves and you're like, "Hey." We also did over 7.5 miles of full depth restoration on Quincy's roads. That's just this summer, and as long as the weather holds out, we're going to continue. This is just up to now. The DPW also oversaw 5.5 miles of new water mains. Some of them were laid in the 19th century, and right now we're in the 21st.
Right, goes back quite a ways.
Yeah, we're an old town. And we put new lining in over 1.5 miles of sewer. And this fall, we are looking to start the Furnace Ave pump station, which will provide flood relief and control that. And before the council right now is $18 million in seawall restoration and enhancement for Adams Shore. So we're very busy.
Very good. I'm glad you added that. I do want to go back just before we close with, again, I hope we don't need to engage the snow division of the Department of Public Works during the fall, but if we need to, if folks need to, there are two numbers that they can utilize to find out if a snow emergency has been declared, and if one has been declared, there is a second number, correct?
So to find out if a snow emergency has been declared, you can get a recording, and that number is 617-770-7669. If it has, and you still have a question or you need help, if you're snowed in, if you have an emergency, if it's not a 911 emergency, but you do need further clarification, you can call 617 for the emergency, 376-1927, and you'll get a live person with a pulse, the whole 9 yards.
We will address a lot more of that during our winter episode of this show, but let's hope for no snow during the fall.
And tune in for my winter disguise.
Yes. And of course, as you had just mentioned, if the weather continues to be great, cooperative, then all these projects that the Department of Public Works is working on, ones you had just mentioned, would continue.
I'll have you know, one of the farmers' almanacs is forecasting a lot of snow because Greenland is melting, and it's putting a lot of moisture out there.
I see. Stay tuned. Okay. Well, thank you for dropping by.
That's why I moved down to the level with the ocean.
Oh, you never lived in Greenland.
No, but I did live 100 feet above sea level.
Okay.
Until last year, I heard the ocean was rising.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
You know, that's just my timing. I have
true,
impeccable.
It's a true
timing.
thing. It's
done a lot of other things that you wouldn't believe the timing.
Thank you for joining us, and we will have you back for the winter update. But this, once again,
no matter what I do, what
update.
I say, he has me back. I love it.
Thank you at
no
home
one
for
else
watching.
Does that.
Yeah, thank you for watching Update DPW. Please continue to watch Quincy Access Television for more locally produced programming.